everyone. I'm Stormtracker 16 meteorologist Allie Gallo. We truly hope you enjoyed our inaugural edition of Stormtracker 16 Cloud to Ground. We're here each week, every Thursday beginning at 1 p.m. and of course anytime on demand with the free WNEP Plus app. We have another packed show for you this week from the entire team. Getting things off the ground, here's Joe Snedeker.
Alrighty folks, welcome to the lightning round where we answer your questions, and got a few questions in here, and it's always great. Keep them coming. The segment is only going to be as good as you make it, so we need some good questions. Remember, weather@WNEP.com. Get your questions in. They could be weird, insightful, bizarre, deep, intellectual, not so much. We get a little bit of everything. So we got Frank from Tunkhannock. He said, Joe, why is it that it always seems when I'm watching my WNEP radar app or any radar, it seems that storms break up near Tunkhannock and go around my house and miss? I miss out on the rain, he says. What's up with that? Is it the mountains? Frank from Tunkhannock. Here's what that's all about. So, it's a little something in science we call confirmation bias. Watch. Let me say you have two dice. You're going to roll the dice. Oh, we got a 6 and a 5. Oh, let's roll it again. We got a 3 and a 2. Oh, let's roll those dice again. We got a 2 and a 5. Oh, let's roll those dice again. Let's pretend we got snake eyes. 2 ones. All right. So let's say you rolled it 10, 20 times. Out of all those rolls, what would you remember? You're not going to remember the 5 and the 3 and the 6 and the 4. You're going to remember snake eyes because it's something unique and different. You remember the hits, you forget the misses. This is called confirmation bias. Let me give you another example. How about, all right, people say, oh, it always rains for Mother's Day. Or, hey, every time it's Father's Day, it's a sunny, warm day. You just remember the unique things and you forget the blah, blah, blah background. So when weather systems approach towns, a lot of times they'll cover the entire area, everybody gets rain, and you just forget it because it's background. Other times, you see rain coming, it goes around your community, and you think it's such a unique thing, you remember that, and you forget all the times it didn't go around your community. Confirmation bias. You remember the hits, you forget the misses. Frank, that's what's going on, trust me. The storms aren't missing your house, you're just forgetting all the times that they went through and you got the rain. You remember the unique situation when they went around it. Let's do another roll, what do you say? Are you ready? Snake eyes! Oh, a 3 and a 2, how forgettable. I have Mindy to answer this one because anyone can answer this one, I hope.
What does that mean? What are you saying about me?
No, I'm saying this isn't really weather, but it is.
Okay.
Can you define, this is from Jan.
Okay.
Partly sunny, partly cloudy, mostly cloudy, a partly cloudy and a mostly sunny the same. What do you think about all this?
I definitely have a set picture in my mind of what's partly cloudy and what's mostly sunny.
But what if I said you're partly rich?
Halfway?
Or you're mostly rich? More.
Yeah.
So when we say partly cloudy, that means the day is going to be sunny and only part of the time cloudy. If you say partly sunny, it's going to be mainly cloudy, only part of the time sunny. Doesn't that kind of register at least a little bit?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so everyone jokes around with this partly sunny, partly cloudy, but there is a difference if you really think about it. Just like right now, I'm partly gone.
Don't go!
No, I'm mostly gone. See ya! So keep those questions coming. That's a weird one, but it's a good one. Weather@WNEP.com. Weather@WNEP.com. And remember the hits and the misses.
Thanks, Joe. April is a month when our average highs go from the mid-50s in the beginning of the month to the mid-60s by the end of the month. It's a month when our sunsets get closer and closer to 8 p.m. And this year, it was a month we had record heat and record cold. Let's take a look back at our month in weather.
The warm
warmest day of the month in both northeastern and central PA was on Thursday, April 16th. It was 87 degrees in the Scranton area that day, which was just 1 degree shy of the record high of 88 degrees set back in 2012. We hit 90 degrees in Williamsport, the first time hitting 90 this year, and tying the record for hottest April 16th on record. It was 90 degrees on that day in 2002, too. The coldest overnight low this month happened on April 8th. It was 21 degrees that Wednesday morning in Scranton and 22 degrees in Williamsport. Later in the month, it wasn't quite that cold, but it was pretty close. On April 21st, it dropped down to 24 degrees in Scranton and 25 degrees in Williamsport. Those were both record cold temperatures for that date. On Tuesday, April 7th, the Rail Riders home opener at PNC Field was postponed because of forecasted cold temperatures and sub-freezing wind chills. It felt like deja vu here in Moosic that day. The Rail Riders home opener was postponed last year, too, because of cold temperatures and a frozen field that wasn't safe to play on. The year before that, the home opener was postponed twice because of heavy rain. This year, the Rail Riders opened their season at home the next day, on Wednesday, April 8th. And it was still a chilly day. Highs were only in the mid-50s, but it was a lot better than the low 40s and gusty winds the day before.
Opening night 2026. We're not going to miss it. 4 years in a row, I'm back. Like a bear coming out of its cave, I am here to see baseball, any PA, we don't miss it.
By the middle of the month, we had a week stretch of very warm temperatures, feeling a lot more like the middle of July rather than the middle of April. Stormtracker 16 meteorologist Anthony Bordenaro stopped by Kenny Stair & Sons Farm in Schuylkill County.
We're real excited. It's the time of year where everybody wants to get out, start planting plants, making everything look pretty with flowers and greens.
Manager Stacy Stair warned folks that day not to plant just yet, and she, of course, was right. That hard freeze came not even a week later. The last weekend of April ended on a very nice note, but that is certainly not the way it started. Saturday, April 25th was a busy one in northeastern and central PA, but it rained on many parades that day. It was an extra special opening day at Knoebels Amusement Resort in Northumberland County. The park is celebrating 100 summers of memories this year, and many folks still showed up, even in the pouring rain, for the sake of tradition.
Trying to fight back those emotions, seeing everybody braving the rain, braving the weather, to come be a special part of our day. That's a pretty humbling feeling.
In Scranton, it was the annual PanCan Purple Stride Walk at Naog Park to raise money for the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. Newswatch 16's Mindy Ramsey MCs the event every year, so she knows better than anyone it's an event that usually gets rain. But not like this. Still, hundreds showed up in their purple ponchos. Joanne Connor is from Taylor. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer last October. 70 of her friends and family members showed up in support of Team Grammy Joe, the biggest team here at the walk. It left her and her sister Jan speechless.
It's overwhelming. I think the turnout is what's overwhelming too, right?
Oh yeah, in spite of the weather.
Yeah.
Who cares about the rain?
Yeah.
They're here to support us.
Scranton's 160th birthday party at the Everhart Museum was postponed because of the rain, but the city was able to celebrate the next day here in Naog Park. Many places reported over an inch of rain that day. We picked up about 0.8 of an inch of rain here in the WNEP backyard. Overall, we will end the month of April with above-average rainfall for both Scranton and Williamsport, but not by much and nowhere near any records. As we head into May, severe weather season ramps up and we're getting closer to hurricane season. But after last year's wet May, one of the wettest ever, we will be ready for anything this year.
Stormtracker 16 Cloud to Ground returns with another weather dissection with Anthony Bordenaro. Stay with us. Welcome back to Cloud to Ground. He's good at taking things apart, and here he is with marker in hand, our own Anthony Bordenaro. What do you have for us this week?
In this edition of Whiteboard Weather, we are going to get to the bottom of a myth that we hear a lot on Talkback, and it has to do with roundabouts. Let's get into it. My name is Anthony Bornaro, Stormtracker 16 meteorologist here in our weather center. And of course, we have a whiteboard, we have some weather, so we got to talk about it. There is some truth, minimal truth, to the roundabout theory, but no, tornadoes cannot form from a bunch of cars flowing around roundabouts. But again, there's a little bit of factoids that we have to talk about. So let's say you're driving in a car, right? And a tree's in the way, in a medium or roundabout, don't drive over it, drive around it. You know, it can be tempting to drive through it. So you drive counterclockwise around that roundabout. So you picture, right, this rotation right here, going this side, that creates spin in the atmosphere for tornadoes. Tornadoes mostly are counterclockwise. That makes sense, right? Tornadoes spin. That sounds good on the surface, but what if I told you that tornadoes don't form from spin like this? They form from spin like this, and we'll break it down. So you have buildings in the atmosphere, and they block wind. There's more friction closer to the surface, but winds in the higher portions of the atmosphere, they're flowing faster. Winds towards the ground, a little bit slower, and then towards the surface, a little bit slower, mainly due to friction and also other atmospheric processes. But when you get this, and this, can you see it? Rotation, like this. This is horizontal rotation in the atmosphere. Now these can vary between a couple meters, maybe up to 50 meters in the atmosphere, and these are scattered all across the atmosphere. Towards the ground, towards the surface, whether they're different trees or whatever. And with storms that form, they take these tubes of vorticity and they pull them up into the storm. They stretch them like an accordion, and storms ingest this type of energy. So what I'm trying to say is, from horizontal rotation like this, you can get vertical stretching, and that's how tornadoes form. That's the process of how tornadoes form. Now, when you're talking about a column like this, it's faced like a hot dog this way. But when you stretch it like this, it turns faster. Picture, this is not about the whiteboard. Picture a skater. When you have your arms out like this, you don't go as fast as when you're tight and you're spinning around like this. So the more you get stretched up, the faster you spin. The storms ingest this type of energy. Other atmospheric processes happen that's not in the scope of this whiteboard weather, and then tornadoes form. So the question is, how worried do we have to be about tornadoes here in northeast and central Pennsylvania? Not as much as you may think. We're going to flip the whiteboard and let's talk about the science behind tornadoes. Now let's talk about the numbers behind tornadoes. So here's a bar graph per month, how many tornadoes we get per month in the state of Pennsylvania. The number is, per year, 13 tornadoes. Now you're like, oh, is that good or is that bad? On average, the United States sees about 1,200 tornadoes. So by simple math, us in Pennsylvania see about 1% of all the tornadoes. All across the United States, there are 50 states, so a little bit underrepresented. You picture 2% each state. You see about 1% of all the tornadoes. So again, 13, nearly zero in January, February, March, 0.1. So one every 10 years in the month of March. We're in April as is, and we see about, I had a cheat sheet here. Thankfully I have a cheat sheet, 1.2. But as we head to May, we see 2. Cheat sheet, 2.5. 2.7. So the most tornadoes we see is in the month of July, and 3 tornadoes across the state, not northeast and central Pennsylvania, across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And then we see 1.3, 1.0, 0.4, 0.5 in November, and about 0 in December. Now the reason why I think this November figure is here is because there's probably one November that was abnormally a lot, and that probably skewed the data set a little bit. So yeah, if you didn't know, 13 tornadoes in the state of Pennsylvania. Don't have to be worried that much here in northeast and central Pennsylvania, but they always happen. Big outlier events happened. Last March, we saw 8 tornadoes. So these big events could happen starting now. May, we really start seeing an increase in the amount of tornadoes. But yeah, tornadoes are not cause roundabouts. Not expecting the increase of roundabouts in Pennsylvania, increase any of these numbers. But we do have better tracking systems, so that's why overall they've been increasing in recent memory. Thank you so much for tuning into this edition of Whiteboard Weather. My name is Anthony, and we'll move on to the next segment.
Thanks for all of that, Anthony. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Kurt takes a question from the kids, one we know you all want answers to. What happens when we're wrong? He'll have that when we come back. Stormtracker 16 Cloud to Ground returns in a moment. Welcome back to Cloud to Ground. This week's question is one we get a lot. With this week's inquiry from the mouths of children, here's Stormtracker 16's Kurt Aaron.
Welcome back. Now, you may remember in our very first episode, Cloud to Ground, we talked about in science class how we get the weather correct. How do we know when storms are coming? And then, after we explained everything, we got this question.
What do you do if you get the weather prediction wrong?
Oh, believe me, when we get the weather wrong, people let us know about it. Here's just a couple examples.
Well, you guys really blew it yesterday. I didn't hear anything about any snow overnight, Saturday night into Sunday. And I live in Scranton, and I had almost 3 inches in my backyard. So you better get new computers, because the ones you have aren't working.
This is for all of the WNEP weather people. Thanks for the heads up, or should I say lack or no heads up of all this snow this weekend. If you had any other job, you'd be fired.
See, what did I tell you? We hear about it when we're wrong. But did you know we actually keep track of our forecast and then we compare it to what actually happened in the weather? I've got some examples here I want to show you. Now, all these papers you see holding in my hand, these are actually forecasts from all the meteorologists in our weather department. I want to show you some examples of what I'm talking about. Let's show them here, Courtney. So I've got some forecasts laid out. We have to fill out, each meteorologist, every time we do the weather, we fill out what we think the weather's going to be. Now, this is Joe's. Joe's like to use the scientific identifiers for rain and things like that. That's fine. And he never signs the top of it because we know it's Joe. This is mine. I like to actually write mine out. And there's a reason for that. If the producers need to come over and find out what the weather is and I'm not there at the time, or whoever isn't there, then the producer can look right at the 7-day sheet and know exactly what the weather's going to be without trying to identify the symbols. But that's just me. Here's another example. Anthony. Anthony likes to draw the sun and the clouds. And this is very easy to read as well. Everybody's different. Alec, who works part-time for us here, he likes to spell everything out, including what he's going to be talking about in the very bottom of the page. A little bit different there as well. Then there's Jeremy. Jeremy's very similar to mine. He just spells it out like that, so it's easy to read for producers. And then there's Allie's. Allie likes to put in the numbers, and she kind of believes that each Met understands exactly what's going on with the weather, but she wants to make sure the numbers are there. So, all right, so that's how we do things differently. Now, how does that make it accurate for us, and how do we know if we're getting it right? Well, there's a little thing that we have here called a climate data book. And each evening, the nighttime meteorologist has to write down what happened that day. So you can see AM, warm, sunshine, and then nighttime front comes in, PM showers. Here's your high and low over here, max and min, and here's your precipitation. We had just over 0.4 of an inch of precipitation. So remember I talked about those 7-day sheets that we look at and we can tell. So we take these 7-day sheets and we compare them to what actually happened. So how accurate was our forecast? Were we able to stay on top? And believe it or not, most of the time we're really close. There are times where we get it wrong, but most of the time we're really close. So there's your explanation. And when we do get it wrong, as you heard earlier, we don't hear the end of it. So the old saying in weather is this: and I'll leave you this with a little tip of wisdom in our last science class. And that is, people never remember when we're right, but they never forget when we're wrong. Boom! That's the truth. All right, that's it for the science class today. Here's our question for 2 weeks from now.
I wanted to know, how are hurricanes formed?
That's a great question, and we're going to answer that in 2 weeks. But we also have a new segment we're doing called Pawcast, and it's about the weather and your pets, and we're going to feature that next week. So make sure you tune in for that. Thanks for watching us. Class dismissed.
Thanks, Kurt. Stay with us because when we come back, Jeremy has a new segment for our show brought to us by our loyal viewers. Check it out when we come right back with Stormtracker 16 Cloud to Ground. Welcome back to this week's Stormtracker 16 Cloud to Ground. You've always been wonderful viewers, sharing the beauty and power of our area's weather. Here with a new segment brought to us by you, here's our very own Jeremy Luan.
Every week, the weather tells a story, and sometimes the best way to see that story is through your eyes. Welcome to This Week in Weather, where we take a look back at the past with photos sent in by viewers just like you, right here on the Plus. From dramatic skies to quiet, beautiful moments, these snapshots capture what it really felt like to live through this week's weather. And as we go, we'll do more than just admire the view. We'll break down what's happening behind the scenes, turning some of those complex weather patterns into easy to understand science. So let's get started with our first photo. We recently saw our first strong to severe thunderstorms across the region of the year, and they resulted in some dramatic scenes across the region. So this picture came in from Jonathan in Richmonddale. It's in northern Lackawanna County, and he captured this shelf cloud. If you didn't know what you were looking at, you might have thought that this was an alien spaceship and it was moving in. This dramatic layered cloud, though, is actually the leading edge of a thunderstorm. We also got a shelf cloud photo that came in just a little bit further away, a hop, skip, and a jump in Clifford Township. And this one came in from Michael. Thank you, Michael, for sending this one in. As the storm pushes forward, it sends off a rush of cooler air along the ground. And when that cooler air plows into the humid, warm air ahead of it, it forces that warm air to rise quickly. And that rising motion is what builds the really long cloud, the curved structure. And that's also why it looks so smooth and stacked. So the air is being lifted in a very organized manner along that boundary, giving it the sweeping, sculpted look of a shelf cloud. So while it may look otherworldly, what you're seeing is a storm announcing its arrival, and sometimes that brings gusty winds, heavy rain, and even a quick drop in temperature right behind it. Next up, we're going to talk about a common but beautiful weather phenomenon we often see after the rain, and that's morning fog. We're going to go down towards the south and point out Sue's picture from Duryea, and it captures it perfectly. The beautiful sunrise that she captured with the oranges and reds. Thank you, Sue, for sending in this one. If you ever woke up to a world shrouded in a soft, misty blanket, it's probably because of the moisture that was left behind by rain and the cooler overnight temperatures. So after a good rainstorm, the ground is saturated with moisture, and as the air cools overnight, it can't hold all that moisture in the form of vapor anymore. So the temperature drops to a point where the air becomes saturated. This is called the dew point. When the air reaches that dew point, the moisture in the air condenses into tiny water droplets, forming fog and dew on surfaces like blades of grass and mailboxes and cars. And the result is this hazy, ethereal scene we see in the early morning, where the ground's moisture and the cool, calm air meet to create that magical, foggy effect. Thank you, Sue, for sending in this one from Duryea. I'll always end this segment with a photo that made me smile, and this one brightened my day. Both of my cats recently passed away after 15 years, and they used to try to eat any plants and flowers that we brought into the house. So seeing Dave's cute kitty here in Scranton, sitting in his cozy spot right next to the tulips, it made me laugh. And apparently, Dave's kitty must not have as much of an affinity for fresh cut flowers as mine did. Just a little bit of sunshine captured in the simplest and sweetest way. So here's to the small joys and to the unexpected beauty that can be found around every corner, whether it's in the weather or in the company of our furry friends like Dave's cat. That's a look back at this week in weather, captured through your lens in moments, colors, and skies right from where you are. Keep those photos coming because you never know. You might see your snapshot featured here next week. I can't wait to see what you send in. I'm Jeremy Lewan.
Thanks, Jeremy, and thank you to the entire weather team. We hope you had some fun and maybe even learned something new today. Be sure to check out a new episode every week of Stormtracker 16 Cloud to Ground. Thanks for joining us this week here on WNEP Plus. We are proud to serve.